New World has a pretty unique combat system. Gone are the days of the tab targeting and just staring at your keyboard. Now you've got to swing your weapons yourself and actually shoot those bad guys. There's some hidden details in the combat system in New World, which we're going to break down today so that you can become a combat master. Let's go. This video is brought to you by my membership program. If I've ever provided you any value, please do click the option and consider becoming a member of the channel. There are some legit benefits for you if you do decide to become a member. I've recently hired an editor and he can't live on the old crisp high five and thumbs up forever. So please do consider joining the membership program. Let's go. We will be starting off with some basic tips and then we'll get into like the nitty gritty good stuff. And as always, chapters will be below. So the basic combat tips for New World. And the one thing that you should pay attention to, and I guess your methodology around the game, is to avoid actually taking hits. It's Dark Souls, it's not World of Warcraft, right? In a fundamental way of thinking about the game. You want to avoid that damage, whether it's by blocking or by dodging. You don't want to tank those hits, kind of like in a tab targeting MMO where you would just stand still and take all of the damage and just deal more damage and kill the enemy. The two primary ways you do this are by blocking and by dodging. Blocking negates all damage coming towards you and will instead use a stamina bar to take up those hits. It will, however, not block debuffs or magic damage if you're getting hit by, say, fire or ice. So it's worth noting that if you are seeing some of that damage coming towards you, you should be dodging out of the way. But otherwise, you can block any kind of physical damage that's coming towards you. You don't need a shield in order to block. You can do this without a shield. Shifting or using your dodge will give you invincibility frames like a Dark Souls, where during your roll animation, you won't take any damage. The length of these invincibility frames or iframes is different depending on your weight class, which you can see at the top left of your inventory screen. You can see whether you are light, medium, or heavy. This is also indicated by the type of roll you get. So as a light, you get an actual roll. As a medium, you get kind of like a large dodge sidestep. And then as a heavy, you basically just step to the left. It's very different in the animations you'll get, as well as the iframes that you will get. Some of the enemy attacks, including from PvP players, will have things called grit attacks, which is when they glow white and then they do like a big heavy attack at you. These you have to dodge. You can't block them. You want to get out of the way of these as soon as possible. Now, when you're swinging your sword or whatever weapon you're using at the enemies, you will notice the numbers that will appear in different colors. A white damage number indicates that this is just average damage. You're just doing the standard amount of damage to that enemy. If it's blue and has a little down arrow, it means that they are resistant to the damage type that you are doing to that enemy. Yellow with the little up means that they are weak to that damage type, so you're doing extra damage to them. And orange is a critical hit, and you can guarantee those critical hits by a couple of methods, which we'll talk about a little bit later in this video. You can see the type of damage that your weapon is going to do by actually looking at the weapon in your inventory. It will have a number and then say slash damage or pierce damage, or if it's a magic type of damage, it will also indicate that there. Some weapons will do multiple. For example, with the sword, a heavy attack is a pierce and its standard attack is a slash. So you can mix and match a little bit there, but it's just worth noting. In your settings, you should also be turning on the always show weapons on your HUD in the gameplay tab. This will show both of your weapons at all times so that you can see the weapon cooldowns for the abilities that you have for both weapons always, because you want to be using your weapon abilities as much as possible, especially when they come off cooldown. So this is a good way you can keep both of their cooldowns active on your screen so you can view them whenever you need. Now let's get into those nitty gritty details. We're going to start off with the animation cancelling. Now, similar to Elder Scrolls Online, if any of you guys have played that, most of the weapons have a wind down period after a light or a heavy attack. So when you swing at an enemy, the damage is calculated, then there's kind of a small part of the animation afterwards where you're just stuck in that animation. You can cancel this by immediately triggering a weapon ability. So as you start to learn the weapons, you want to understand when that damage is actually going to land, and then once you see that indicator, you can then immediately trigger a weapon ability, cancel the rest of that animation to move on into something else. This will help you speed up your combat. You can get a little bit of extra damage in quickly, especially a quick damage burst when you are in PvP. You can catch people off guard by really being able to trigger this, even like a heavy attack and then straight into a weapon ability, so you can deal as much damage as quickly as possible. In the same vein of this, you can also animation cancel the light roll, the big roll that you can do as a light character. You can cancel the little wind up where you kind of stand up at the end of the roll by sheathing or unsheathing your weapon immediately after you hit shift. And then that way you can get straight into attacking again, as well as keeping your movement speed so you don't get that slowdown effect right at the end. Heavy attack variations. Now, you may not have noticed this, but when you do wind up for heavy attack, if you just press and hold the button slightly and do a heavy attack, it's like a half heavy attack. But if you hold the attack button for a long period of time, this will actually trigger the heavy attack, I guess is what you want to call it. It'll do slightly more damage than the other heavy attack, but it's just another way that you can get big hits on enemies, especially with those big great axes and warhammers. And of course, you can animation cancel these bad boys as well. Now, guaranteed critical hits. We did say we were going to talk about that a little bit later, and ways that you can guarantee critical hits on enemies are primarily from attacking from behind. So if you trigger a stun on an enemy, or if the enemy is attacking someone else, you can get behind them and you will always have a guaranteed critical hit. This is the same on PvP and PvE. So if you're not the primary target that's being attacked, or if you stun the enemy, you want to make your way around behind it so that you can actually get those guaranteed crits and always start off fights, if possible, with a critical hit, especially in PvP. It's a really good habit to get into. The other way you can is by headshotting with either the musket or the bow. You can headshot enemies with these physical ranged weapons. You can actually guarantee yourself a critical hit. So you can especially get good at this for PvP, and in the musket, you can land long range crits and destroy people. While we are discussing these physical ranged weapons, it's worth indicating to you the difference between the musket and the bow as a weapon to use. With the musket, it is a hit scan weapon. And what that means is that wherever your cursor is, from the moment you click, the damage will instantly land. So if you are clicking on someone's head, it will immediately hit that headshot. Obviously, lag, if you've got a high ping or something like that, there might be a minor delay. But basically, if you click on someone's head, the damage will immediately land. With the bow, however, it's what's called a projectile weapon. And what this means is you have to wait for the arrow to actually travel to its target to land its damage. With the bow, you'll be wanting to lead your shot. So wherever the enemy is moving to, you want to be aiming for that location rather than directly at them. If you're planning on participating in PvP, I'll give you a couple of pointers to get you into the zone. Proning hides your nameplate from other PvP players. So if you are playing around in an area and you see someone that is also PvP flagged, you can prone and hide from them and slowly move up to them, get a nice cheeky critical hit from behind if you do want to do that. You can also run back to the city at any time. Even if you are in a fight with someone, if you get into the zone of the city that cancels PvP, you will instantly be safe and you can avoid dying from someone that is chasing you across the map, which has happened to me a couple of times. The PvP scaling was also updated with the launch patch, and it now fits within that kind of closed beta field where the leveling doesn't matter too much, so you can take on people that are a bit higher level than you, but this also means people at lower levels can actually take you on as well, so it's worth being mindful about that. Pretty much what I've found in PvP is that abilities are king regardless of your level and your equipment. If you're landing your abilities on whoever the target is, you have a really good success chance of actually beating them, especially anything that stuns them or ability locks them for a brief moment so that you can get in some hits. It will guarantee you a really good time in those fights. You can cancel your animations, as we've already talked about, the lightweight rolls and lunging abilities, any way that you can close that distance and deal as much damage as you possibly can. And as a quick last tip for PvP, if you have picked up the faction PvP missions and you die in any way, even outside of PvP while you have those missions, even if you've completed them, you will instantly fail them. It's just worth noting if you are going to explore and you're picking up the PvP quest as well as some of the other quests that you can take out with you on your journey. And if you're looking for more New World tips, check out my tips video that I made during the beta. It goes through tons of variations of tips, even more than the combat tips that we have gone through today. So do check that out. Please follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and on Twitch. Thank you for watching this video. My name is NorZZa, and I hope you have a great day.